Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's installment of Align's Daily Dose of Advice, our way of bringing you valuable insights and thought leadership from business experts from around the world on various topics that will hopefully help you and your business. My name is Eugene Turk. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Align. You can always learn more about Align at aligntoday.com. And my guest today is Neale Lewis. Neale is a UK-based scaling up expert with a long track record of delivering substantial business growth and performance improvements by embracing the very best business education habits and tools to help his coaching clients successfully scale. He is a well-respected leadership trainer, facilitator, coach, and public speaker. And most recently, Neale was also the organizer of the first ever Scaling Up Summit in London. Neale, it is always a pleasure to see you. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Great to be here.
Neale, there used to be a time when business leaders would celebrate employee achievements and accomplishments in the office. Memories of the boss ringing a bell when a sales target was reached, or playing music when a project was completed or some other goal was achieved. Now we are all working remotely and apart. And so I wanted to discuss with you the importance of continuing to recognize and celebrate the achievements of our teams and our individual employees in sort of maintaining company culture. So particularly now, right now, why don't we start by sort of addressing why is it so important for business leaders to recognize the progress and the work that is being done by their remote employees?
I think it's never been more important, and for a lot of people who crave maybe contact with others and contact with other people, they're probably feeling very vulnerable right now, and being able to just be in touch as humans about what are their emotions, what are they feeling, how they, to your point, celebrate if they have made a breakthrough, large or small. And it's interesting. There's a book by Greg Lederman called Crave. And it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today, Eugene. And that is, as humans, the one thing that we crave more than anything else is recognition. And if it's face to face, that's great. But probably more than ever, we need that sort of ongoing recognition just to lift our spirits, to keep our morale going forward, and just a simple appreciation of a job well done. So I think what Greg calls out in this little book. Is a number of things that we can do just to make sure, be it through the daily huddle or just a catch-up call, that we are taking the time out to think about how do we say that simple thank you or that act of recognition, to do just that. It is a big win, as you said, if the sales team have just landed a massive job, but probably more importantly right now, there isn't necessarily going to be big wins. There's lots of small little wins that people may well have achieved, or that hard work or going the extra mile. So I think that just one thing I wanted for everyone to think about is that recognition is so important right now. And what are you doing every single day just to take some time out to say thank you? Or better still, taking time out each week to write a thank you note. You know what, Eugene, I've still got a thank you note. I was just reminded myself when I was thinking about this from my CEO when I was working in Molson Coors quite a few years ago now. And I was just thinking at the time, why have I still got this note? Well, it meant many more things than just what I'd actually achieved for that. That time of recognition by somebody who I obviously held in high accord still sits with me today. So it's something you can think about, listeners to think about right now, is what can I do today just to write a simple note or a letter to any one of my team right now. No, I'm thinking about them, letting them know that I really appreciate the extra work that they're going to. That it won't be going unnoticed. And it's interesting, again, I'm actually doing a session with a lady called Deborah Corrie on Friday. We were meant to be running the master's program. We're doing this online now. And Deborah's written a book, The Rebel Playbook for World-Class Employee Engagement. And they have a whole chapter, Eugene, that's given over to the importance of recognition. And again, just talks about the fact that to be successful, recognition has to be continuous. It has got to be timely, it's got to be relevant, and most importantly, it's personal. And it really goes to that. It's more often than not, it's the thought that counts every single time. It's money and prizes are pretty much secondary. So I think that that's so important, just to sort of hold front up. And I think the other thing is, have a think about, more often than not, it's the sales team who get all the thanks, they get all the gratitude, they landed a big new deal. Okay, that's fine, but also take time to think about everybody else who might be involved behind the scenes, the people in the marketing team, the people in the finance team helping that get pulled together, the people that may be in the engineering and support team. What can you do to also take time to thank them as well? Not just in this lockdown time, but actually when you think about recognition, what can you do to make sure when you go back to work again, that you're doing just the same, that you're actually thinking about the power of recognition
Right.
and that thank you note.
You sort of mentioned daily huddles, and you mentioned how the recognition has to be continuous. How often should leaders recognize team member contributions, and is it more important to recognize it more often or more frequently, particularly during a business crisis like this?
Definitely, I think just again, it's so easy, and also just bearing in mind, a lot of leaders haven't got a playbook on how to react right now. And for those who are maybe in a real challenging perspective, it's easier to just focus on the difficulties, the challenges, the things that aren't going well, and to issue out blame and all those things. But it's so important to be able to control those emotions, and right now is to look for the good and what things have been happening, look for
Yeah.
the good results, even though they just might be small wins right now. But bring that into the daily huddle. A small thing that may be done yesterday, and just being able to call someone out for that is absolutely critical every single day. Just taking time. And I think Greg talks again in his book Crave about what he calls the simple 10-minute by Friday approach, to get every single manager to allocate that sort of 10 minutes each week to think about what recognition can we do on a big win, what can we do to recognize a smaller win, and to that hard work. So again, for your listeners, just to maybe bring that 10-minute rule, not just each week, but every single day, just reflect on what have we done, what maybe someone who's gone the extra mile, somebody who is done a good deed, maybe not necessarily just in the workplace, but also for society, or for their community as a whole. That somebody may have been doing right now some great stuff around that, and you just want to appreciate people for what they're doing. So I definitely advocate daily right now. Don't be shy of saying that word thank you. A lot of people really get hung up about saying thank you, but no, just double down on that more so than ever.
And you mentioned, obviously, sales team members often get the most accolades and the most recognition. But particularly now, I mean, what kinds of contributions? I mean, as part of scaling up, obviously, you encourage companies to be setting priorities and individuals to have KPIs that they're measuring and tracking, or individual action items and tasks that people should be completing. Are those the types of contributions? Not only the big things like completing a quarterly priority, but even small daily and weekly tasks, are those the type of things that we should be recognizing?
Yeah, massive. And I think again, the small sprints and that might have just taken place, and they've just got to, moving things along faster than they normally would. Somebody who's been kind to someone else and recognizing that, somebody who's taken care to make sure that someone else is okay, recognizing that. There's so many little things that you wouldn't normally have taken sight of, but actually right now are critical. And I think the other thing is to reflect on, Eugene, more than ever, are your values. Now is the time really to take your values as your moral compass. Take the values about what you stand for, and to double down about what exactly would our values instruct us to do right now. And I've just reminded one of the clients I'm working with right now, one of their core values is we care. And it's standing them such good stead right now that it gives them every single time that, if somebody has done something that has maybe gone above and beyond, or they're looking out for someone in their community, or they're caring about someone else, they're calling it, and really just making sure that, well, are we living this value consistently? Are we highlighting where other people are demonstrating this, and thanking them for that, and calling out other their values and where people are living those. So I think there's so many different things you can do, not just about maybe deliverables, to your point a few minutes ago
Right.
around delivering that, but what other things can we recognize? Like I said, it's about living our values, about adapting to a new way of working, to maybe coming up with some ideas that you hadn't thought of beforehand that's going to move things forward. So there's a whole raft of different things that you can just consider. But going back, almost that sort of 10-minute rule, having you think about and writing down in your notebook what are the things that you've seen, or speak to your colleagues about what else are you seeing or hearing across your organization, or better still, have them thank people from other departments as well. It's a great time right now to open up and put differences aside, as it were, and to recognize that actually we're seeing, in many respects, so much more collaboration between departments. They're having to get
Yeah.
on. They're having to patch up the differences. They're having to do things around that right now. So yeah, I think that those things are definitely I'd be focusing on.
And I think that kind of leads me into my next question, which is sort of what are the benefits that a company can get from fostering this type of culture of celebration? You talked about collaboration, but I presume that you could probably also foster team transparency and communication loops and all sorts of different benefits of just that type of reward and recognition.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Before we just sort of come onto those benefits piece, to Keith Ferrazzi actually joined one of Vern's mini conferences a couple of weeks ago, and his book Leading Without Authority, I think, comes out in a couple of weeks' time. And maybe he talked to some of the benefits in sort of eight points that he's seeing right now that are traits or behaviors that have really emerged through having to work in the way that we are right now. I think the research he's done has been looking at more remote working
Hmm.
over the last 7 or 8 years, but has been able to almost sort of think about, if we were to recontract, knowing what we know now, knowing the sort of behaviors we've been doing over the last sort of 6 or 7 weeks in the lockdown, what are the behaviors that we would look for going forward? So rather than going back to work, I love his mantra of let's go forward to work. And I think some of the areas he's been highlighting is this notion, one of generosity.
Hmm.
And I think we're going to see people have a more abundant spirit, more generosity coming through right now. I think, to your point you were just making, we're definitely going to see, as a benefit of doing this well, greater collaboration, either in problem solving or teams having to come together and think differently, thinking around innovation and those areas. Keith also talks to the fact of taking care of people, and some of the benefits now of giving people more time to exercise, more time to work for themselves at the time that works for them, more time to meditate, more time to connect with friends or colleagues or whatever, will benefit in these ways. Greater productivity, which is amazing, that's what you're looking for, enhanced creativity, more innovation, a more positive mindset, better teamwork, enhanced motivation, and fundamentally right now, sort of wellness. And I think what we'll
Yep.
see in the coming weeks and months is this whole notion of people being, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of people who are massively affected, aren't we? We're going to see a lot of people who are going to suffer stress and depression and all those sort of things. But if we're able to keep connected with people, to keep recognizing them, to be able to take care of people, there will be a lot of upsides, as well as reducing the downsides, like restlessness, downsides of people not being able to focus, being depressed, being mentally stagnated. I think these are the things, again, to look out for in terms of what can you do to make sure that you are taking care of your people, having a generous spirit. And also, what Keith, a couple of other things that I really have resonated with me, what Keith talks around vulnerability and authenticity right now. And I think we've all seen it as well, that we're having these calls and we're suddenly seeing the kids erupt from behind the desk, or the dog going crazy in the background, or there's what used to be the normal work ethic where we need to kind of come to work in a certain way. That's changing, and I think we can now be more authentic in the way that we come to bring our whole personas to the workplace, and tell people the challenges we're going through, and be vulnerable around that, and also be more candid. And I think right now, one of the things that if you're almost having to do by having virtual conversations or talking the way we're talking right now, is you are able to maybe get to chase more. You're able to have those conversations, and I think one of the things that Keith's been using quite effectively, and I've started using this in my coaching, Eugene, is the power of the breakout rooms on the likes of Zoom, where you can actually go and have a conversation, and I think he puts it this way: it's getting into groups of people and said, right now, what's not being said that needs to be said?
Right.
What are what are the brutal the elephant on the table that no one's been everyone's been avoiding, that we can actually really get to the surface right now, and using sort of smaller groups to really get to the nub of some of the challenges. And that's been another massive benefit of being able to use this time to reflect on how can we do things differently, how can we get to be more candid. So I think there are lots of different benefits, but it was quite useful just to capture that up in that what Keith Faraz has been teaching us.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to your point to the power of recognition, and what human nature craves is
Yes.
to do work that is then recognized by others and valued and appreciated. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Neale, the question that I ask everyone to complete the daily dose of advice: what is the number one piece of advice that you are giving your coaching clients right now?
I think it is to be true to your core values, and as we spoke about a few minutes ago, to use that as your moral compass, to do the right things right, and to be, as long as you've got great values, that is, and hopefully most of the clients I've coached, they have such a powerful set of core values, and it's interesting. The ones that are thriving right now have really used that as a basis to make the big decisions, whether to let people go, whether to furlough, whether to stretch themselves in a different direction. So I think it's been that. It's been authentic. It's been vulnerable to the others as well. And I think right now, as we've been speaking about in this whole conversation, Eugene, the importance of recognition and using that word thank you more often than not. And I think we, like coaches, are very thankful or still having clients and an ability to help them in some small way, and making sure that we have that attitude of gratitude as well.
Well, Neale, I am very thankful for you participating in our daily dose of advice, offering your wisdom and your insights to our audience. So we greatly appreciate you and thank you for coming on. For those of you that would like to learn more about Neale and his coaching practice, you can go to his website at Neale, that's Neale, Lewis, Lewis.com. Again, if you'd like to learn more about Align, you can always do so at our website at aligntoday.com. And we hope that you will join us next time. Till then, thank you for joining us, and we hope that you make it a great day. Thanks, Neale.
Thank you.